All right, we're live. Hey there, everybody. This is Clay with modernlove.life, and today we're going to be talking about should you move on or should you try to get back together with your ex after a breakup. And, over the past couple of days last week, we were talking about how to get over your ex. And, I understand that I have hundreds of videos on getting back together with your ex. And you might be like wondering, well, hey, what should I do? What's your stance on all this, right? And so that's what we're going to be talking about today. Before we get into that, though, if you like what we're doing, give us a thumbs up. Go ahead and subscribe to the channel if you're not already. And be sure to hit that bell icon next to the subscribe button so that you can get updates next time that we go live or next time we post a video. Also, if you like what we're doing, please feel free to check out our book over at modernlove.life/book. It's called Be Loved for Who You Are. It's $7 US, and it'll give you hopefully some great insights into improving your dating or relationship life, wherever you're at in that spectrum, whether you're in a relationship, whether you're single, whether you're dating, whether you're somewhere in between in some complicated land. But yeah, let's go ahead and get into this. So, should you get back together with your ex after a breakup, or should you try to move on? And I want to make this clear that there's no real black and white kind of thing here. I know that there's a lot of people who have this black and white belief that you should always move on from an ex. They're an ex for a reason. You should never get back together. Breakups happen for a reason. There's plenty of fish in the sea and all of that stuff. And I can understand why some people would say that, but I want you to be living your life, feeling into the moment, making choices about what's right for you, rather than just running off of fortune cookie advice like that, okay? Fortune cookie advice, things that sound good, things that are snappy, things that are catchy, things that, rhyme sometimes, but ultimately they have no foundation in reality. They're just kind of things that you just hear recycled over and over and over again, right? And I want you to be, instead of running your life off of little fortune cookie messages, I want you to run your life off of being present, feeling into the situation, knowing what the right thing for you to do is, and responding accordingly. So, with that being said, we're going to talk about when it's right to actually try to work things out with your ex. And with all of this being said, everything that I'm about to talk about, it is okay if you do not want to get back together with your ex. It's okay, even if all of these things that we're about to talk about where it might make sense for you to get back together are in place. It's okay if you do not want to get back together with them. Again, you are responsible for your love life. You are responsible for your relationship. You are responsible for all of that. And I want you to make the choice that's right for you. And I don't want you to have Clay Andrews making your relationship choices for you. I don't want you to have some other dating person out there making your relationship choices for you. I want you to make your choices. I want you to own your choices. And I want you to be able to look back on the choices that you make at the end of your life, feeling proud of the choices that you made, whether or not they worked out the way that you want them to. With that being said, I want to help to educate you to make the best choices out there, rather than just being pulled by fortune cookie advice or whatever it might be. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get into this. First things first, chemistry is not enough for your relationship to necessarily work in any capacity. Chemistry is not enough for you to want to get back together with your ex and for it to be a great, successful relationship. Chemistry alone is great. It's wonderful. It's great to feel that connection with somebody where hours can just pass by, but it feels like just a few minutes have gone by, and you just have this insane connection. You're just constantly syncing up. You're constantly not missing a beat with one another and all of that. That's great. But that alone is not enough to have a great relationship. All it means is that the two of you are just, in sync, or maybe you have similar values or something like that. But it doesn't mean that the two of you make a great couple, that you're going to be a great couple, that you have what it takes to make it. So just know that chemistry alone is not enough. I know chemistry feels great. I know that chemistry can often feel and give you the impression that this is the right relationship for you, that this is meant to be. But Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's any surprise to anybody if you've listened to like more than half of one of my videos that I'm a pretty, left-brained kind of person. I'm a analytical kind of person. I'm a logical thinking kind of person, and obviously I have emotions too, but I don't want you to just use your emotions alone to make this choice. I also don't want you to just use logic alone to make this choice either. But I want you to look at this person that you are considering getting back into a relationship with. And I want you to say, okay, are we actually compatible with one another? Can we get along with one another? Do we have similar values and similar personality traits that allow us to come together and to create a great harmonious relationship? And how do you do this? Okay, so first of all, you take any thought of them that you have in your mind and you kind of put it aside. You take, to the best of your ability, take any thought you have of them and put it aside. Because I know it's very easy for people to unintentionally do this following exercise and to craft it around their ex. So it's like, oh, look at that, my ex fits perfectly into these categories, therefore we should get back together. But to the degree possible, set aside any thoughts about your ex and just think about this stuff in terms of a general person, that you might want to be in a relationship with. So first and foremost, you want to actually think about what kind of qualities you want in a partner. What are you looking for in a partner? If you're planning on getting married in the future, if you're planning on having children together in the future, as I know many of you are, you might want to think about that when it comes to what you're looking for in a man or a woman. If you're let's just say a woman, and you're thinking about, hey, it'd be great to get married in the future, it'd be great to have some kids with a great guy that I'm married to in the future, then you want to think about these things. What are some qualities of a great husband? What are some qualities of a great dad? Okay, well, that makes you think about some things. Maybe a great father would be somebody who's patient, somebody who's understanding, somebody who's consistent. Just a thought. Again, I don't know what a great dad is to you. I don't know what a great husband is to you, but just a thought. And you want to say, okay, if this person is my ex, we're obviously considering getting back together, therefore they are my ex, therefore we had a relationship together, therefore you probably know something about them and their character and their values and their personality. Does this person have those qualities? Is my ex a patient man? Is he an understanding man? Is he consistent? Or is he just flake in and out of my life whenever it's convenient for him, right? Because how he brings himself to interacting with and relating to you is, probably how he's going to bring himself to interacting and relating to you or any children or anything like that in the future if you were to get together and if you were to be married, right? And, I don't think it's any surprise that consistency, patience, understanding, those are great things to have if you want to have children. Those are great qualities in a parent. And those are definitely ones that I try to espouse myself when it comes to my own daughter. And so think about these sorts of things. I'm not saying that these are the qualities that you must have in an ex if you want to get married or have children or something like that, because everybody has their own beliefs and philosophies and ideas about parenting, about relationships, about marriage and all of that. All I'm asking you to do is to check in with yourself. And what is it that's important to you in a partner, in a spouse, in a, somebody that you're going to parent a child together with? And you want to think about these things. And, if you're not planning on getting married, if you're not planning on having kids, maybe if you're on the older side of things, maybe you already have kids and you just want to have some fun, fine. That just opens up a new box of considerations to think on before you make this decision about whether or not you should get back together with your ex. So that's the first thing. You want to think about, okay, what is it I actually want, right? And then you also want to think about what's it that you don't want. What is it you do not want to put up with in a relationship? What is it you do not want to put up with from a partner? And go ahead and think about this. Go ahead and think about what the deal breakers are. Is it maybe somebody with a mental illness? Maybe narcissistic personality disorder, borderline personality disorder. I see a lot of you guys in my comments. And it's okay if you want to be with somebody who has narcissistic personality disorder, but you have to accept the consequences that come with that. Namely, you'll probably feel lousy all the time. And it's okay to not be in a relationship with somebody who has narcissistic personality disorder. It's okay to not be in a relationship with somebody who, doesn't have a substance abuse. Again, we're not going off of chemistry alone. We're not going off of just love alone. We're going off of what is actually going to create a great long-term relationship or marriage or, family if you're going to have kids together, or if you're going to bring your children from other relationships together to form a family, or whatever's going on, right? You want to think about what your values are. And I don't know, maybe the mental illness thing, maybe that's not a big deal for you. Maybe you have something else. Maybe it's cheating. Maybe you don't want to deal with somebody who cheats, or somebody who has a track record for cheating. Maybe you want to be with somebody who's honest. Maybe you want to be with somebody, maybe it's even something shallow, right? Maybe they have to look a certain way. Maybe they have to have certain physical qualities, right? That's okay. I'm not telling you to say you want to be with somebody who's generous, somebody who's out to save the world, when really you just want somebody who's hot. It's okay. But you have to be honest with yourself. Know what you're looking for, know what your deal breakers are. And then, you can take that box that you mentally put your ex in, you can take it back, you can open it up and say, okay, does my ex fit with these things that I'm looking for? Does my ex not have these things that I don't want to have in a relationship or a partner? And just go ahead and take an honest look here. Don't try and, warp your ex or change your ex or warp your list of requirements or anything like that. Just take an honest look. And if your ex matches up, cool. It might be worth looking at what you guys might be able to do moving forward, if it might be a good idea to get back together or not. If your ex does not match up, then you have to do the loving thing, which is to let go. Because as long as you continue to try to make things work with your ex, when the two of you are just not compatible, when you have a certain set of things that you're looking for in a partner and your ex does not match up, either they don't have something that you must have in a partner or a relationship, or they do have something that's a deal breaker for you, you're always going to be frustrated because there's some part of them that you're looking for in a partner that's missing, or that's there that you wish wasn't there. And I want you to accept your ex as the person that they are. If you have to change them, if they have to change, if they have to be someone different in order to make the relationship work with you, then that's probably not a good relationship to be in. Do people change? Absolutely. People change all the time. People can, wake up one day and decide they're going to get their act together. They can wake up one day and decide, hey, why am I being such a jerk and lying all the time and telling people things that they just want to hear, when really, I have no clue what I'm talking about, and I just feel insecure, so I just make things up. People change all the time, but you cannot bank on somebody changing. Because your ex, sure, maybe they'll change, but are they going to change anytime soon? Maybe not. Are they going to change in the next year? Maybe not. Are they going to change in the next 5 years? Maybe not. Are they going to change in the next decade? Maybe not. Are they going to change in the next 20 years? Maybe not. And if you can't be in a relationship with them as they are now, then you're just going to create frustration. And sure, maybe they change later, and maybe the two of you reconnect, and maybe you can see what's possible then. But right now, if they're not the right person for you, they're not the right person for you. And the loving thing to do is to let them go so that they can find somebody who is the right person for them, somebody who is able to accept them for who they are. It doesn't make you wrong. It doesn't make them wrong. It just means that the two of you don't go well together in a relationship. And of course, obviously, the loving thing for you to do is to let them go as well, so that you can welcome somebody else into your life that is somebody that you can accept 100% for who they are without having to change them. At least when it comes to the major things. I'm not asking you to make some sort of laundry list of 150 different things and then, go down the list and check and evaluate a person based off of all these many different things. I want you to just focus on what's important to you. And as you do that, you'll start to have a little bit more of an objective view of your ex or even anybody else that you might be considering being in a relationship with. Because oftentimes we do lead with that emotion. We do let things like chemistry guide us. But you want to have things besides just chemistry, like we talked about earlier, guiding you when it comes to making your, possibly really big decisions, like if you're going to marry somebody, if you're going to have kids together with somebody or something like that. And you also want to look at their vision for what they want for themselves in their life and what they want for their existence here on this earth. You want to look at your vision as well. What do you want? Do you have some sort of visions that go well together? It doesn't have to be exactly the same, but if they just want to, like in the case with me and my ex, if she just wanted to settle down, live a nice ho-hum, humdrum, low-profile kind of life, and I initially wanted that, but then I started to peel back my own layers of anxiety and insecurity and shyness and all of these things that were holding me back, and I was like, oh wow, like life can actually be fun. Let's go out and do some cool things. And like I've mentioned many times over the past several videos, we just had different visions for what we wanted in life. And again, because they are in opposition, either one of us or both of us are going to be frustrated because, in order for me to try cool things, then she's going to have to be pulled out of her comfort zone and not get what she wants. In order for her to get what she wants, I'm going to have to suppress my desires to try some things and just kind of get bored to death or whatever. I don't know. But you have to think about what your individual visions are, and if they are aligned or congruent or complementary in some way, that's a great thing, and that can mean, okay, that's a good reason to get back together. That's a good reason to consider getting back together. And of course, you also have to confront the fact that the two of you did have a breakup. The two of you broke up, right? This is your ex. Obviously, something didn't work out. So if you're going to get back together, you have to think about what's going to be different this time. And it can't just be we're going to try harder, because as long as all you've got going is like willpower eventually gives out. So you have to look at what didn't work in the relationship. Was it that the two of you weren't being honest with one another? Well, how could we be more honest with one another? How can we talk to one another about what's going on with us and what's holding us back, what's important to us? How can we do that? If it was, you didn't feel comfortable sharing something and you hid it and you kind of came out in like weird ways and you ended up cheating or something like that, then what's going to be different, right? Why are things going to be different? If you don't have an answer for this, then I would really hesitate in endorsing you to get back together with someone else. Sure, sometimes breakups happen just because of simple misunderstandings, but oftentimes they happen because of like major emotional malfunctions in like one or both people in the relationship. And I want you to make sure that you're not walking back into the same relationship that didn't work. So what's different? What has changed? And I think that's where a lot of the, fortune cookie advice of, black and white stuff, like an ex is an ex for a reason, never, ever, 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 ever get back together with your ex. I think that's where a lot of that stuff comes from. It comes from maybe dating and relationship people out there who don't factor in the possibility that you can grow and change. Sure, your ex is responsible for their own growth and change, and they may never change, and how you found them is how they're likely to stay and all that. But you as an individual who can control your actions, who can control your destiny in life, you can change, right? You can change how you're going to bring yourself to a relationship. You can change how you're going to bring yourself to interacting with someone. You can change these things if your breakup is a wake-up call, right? And if you're going to, if you're just going to be the same person, then sure, we can go back to fortune cookie advice rules and all that stuff, and we can just say, okay, yeah, you're just like fatally flawed in some way, and everybody's fatally flawed in some way, and so you should just, if it doesn't work out, then you should never try and make it work. But If you're willing to grow, if you're willing to do things differently, then you have the possibility of creating a new relationship. You have the possibility of creating a new dynamic. And if that happens, then I don't see any reason why getting back together is off the table. Especially if all these other things we've talked about with, the must-haves, the must-not-haves, and all of that are in place. Shared vision is in place and all of that. I don't see why that's anything that we can't consider or entertain. And so, again, I'm not here to make this choice for you. I'm not here to give you fortune cookie advice that you can use as a substitute for actually thinking and actually being present in your life. I hope that this advice has given you something to consider when evaluating your ex, your relationship, and all of that stuff moving forward. But yeah, this is your choice. You have to make it. You have to own it. If you want to get back together with your ex, then see if what I've talked about in this video sounds like it's happening with you and with your relationship. And if not, then at least from my perspective, I would have some serious hesitations about considering getting back together with my ex. But with that being said, once again, please give this video a thumbs up if you like what we're doing. Subscribe if you're not already subscribed. Hit the bell icon if you haven't already, so you can get notifications next time we go live. And yeah, if you like what we're doing, check out our book over at modernlove.life/book. I really wanted to have something cool and new to share with you guys this week. Still working on it. Last week was really crazy. I had tons of appointments. I had that Love Advice TV interview. I'll link to that over there in case you missed it. And there was just a bunch of other little appointments and things like that I had going on. So hopefully I can get you some new thing that I've been secretly working on for the past week or two to you in the next day or two. We'll just have to see. But yeah. Anyway, with that being said, let's go check out what people are talking about in the comments. Wow, lots of comments, guys. Okay. Clay, typo. Yes, but how? How do you get back together with your ex? Yeah, we got a whole lot of videos on this channel. If you have not already, I would just go ahead and check out our playlist on advanced relational skills. Or no, actually, I take that back. Go ahead and watch our playlist on the 5 stages that your ex goes through in getting back together. I'll put a link to that over there in the replay. It'll tell you a little bit more about what's going on with your ex emotionally. And I don't know, guys. I was thinking about just doing one of these live videos and just doing some sort of monster epic video. I don't know how long it would be, an hour or 2 hours, something like that. Or just go over everything that you need to know about getting back together with your ex. Is that something that you'd be interested in? I don't even know. I don't want to block out this massive amount of time and figure out how to keep my camera here charged for that long while I'm live streaming. But I don't know. Is that something that would even be interesting to you guys? I don't know. Go ahead and let me know. That'd be cool. Anyway, where did we leave off? Got to scroll back to the beginning of the comments. If you go through everything that we're building, positive feelings and deep connection, now in crisis point, but failed in getting back because some mistakes that I made, he says he just wants to be friends. That's what Nancy says. I still have a chance, and what should I do now? Okay, not really understanding the first part of your question there. From what I understand, you have positive feelings. He was at the crisis point, which is one of the 5 stages your ex goes through getting back together. You have a deep connection, but there was some sort of failure in getting back together because of some mistake. Well, it depends on what the mistakes were. I don't know what the mistakes were, so I can't really tell you exactly what happened. But, if he was at the crisis point, then, and he still is at the crisis point, then the two of you are having great connections. The two of you are connecting really well. It's just that he's having to confront and face the real things that he would need to face and confront if he was to actually get back together with you, right? Because up until the crisis point, it's just okay, I'm just going to see what's going on with Nancy. I'm just going to see if we can connect. I'm just going to see if we have anything in common. I don't have to make a choice now. I don't have to decide anything now. We're just going to see what it's like to talk to Nancy. And then once you get to the crisis point, it's okay, yeah, things are going well with Nancy. Now it's time. Am I ready to make these tangible steps to bring us back together? Like if I'm in a relationship with somebody else, am I ready to actually break up with that person so that Nancy and I can get back together? If that person has already told all their friends and family that the two of you broke up, and they're like worried about giving their friends and family some sort of weird idea of themselves as like, oh yeah, I'm this person who always breaks up with people and gets back together. Am I feeling comfortable enough to go and tell people, hey, I'm dating Nancy again? Or like whatever else it might be. Like if I moved away to another city, am I willing to open up to the possibility of moving back to like wherever it is Nancy lives, or inviting Nancy to move to wherever I live, if distance was like something that was major between the two of you. Sometimes it's a big thing between people, sometimes it's not a big thing between people. But if the distance was a big thing, then maybe that's something that he's directly having to confront. And that's kind of what's happening at crisis point. And so if that's really where he is, and there was some sort of mistake could have been, I'm just trying to imagine what a mistake might have been. It could have been possibly misreading where he's at, thinking he's at crisis point when he's not, and you maybe did something like the fork in the road strategy prematurely, and maybe it came off as an ultimatum or something like that, or maybe there was some kind of argument that the two of you had that caused the positive connection to diminish. It caused him to say, hey, wait a minute, I thought we were having this great connection. Maybe we don't, and so now I don't have to seriously consider if Nancy and I are going to get back together because I'm having these second thoughts, these doubts. So I'm going to put my foot on the brake and see maybe where things are in a month or something like that. That's kind of what I'm thinking when it comes to what may have been going on. And if that's the case, I mean, just because you make some sort of mistake, it doesn't mean that your chances are lost whatsoever. I've seen people come back from all kinds of massive mistakes. I've made massive mistakes myself when I was getting back together with my ex when we were going through our breakups, many, many years ago. And I've made all kinds of crazy dumb mistakes that I probably shouldn't mention so that nobody gets any dumb ideas. But yeah, that's the thing. Like people often ask me, like, what are my chances? And like your chances are really based on how committed you are, because I mean you're gonna hit an obstacle along the way. It's gonna happen. There's gonna be something that comes up, some kind of thing that you don't expect, some sort of setback. And if you haven't done this work that we talked about in this video, and you are not committed to making this relationship work, first of all, there's nothing wrong with that. But if you're not committed to making the relationship work, then you're most likely going to give up when you hit the obstacle because you're not committed, right? Just like how I'm apparently very likely to give up at going to the gym because I have a baby girl at home who requires a lot of time and chores and all that stuff. And I talk myself out of believing that I have the time to go to the gym and exercise. Even though, if I was really committed to it, I would find the time to spend, 30 minutes at the gym to just get some exercise done. But if you're not as committed, if an obstacle comes up, you're much more likely to give up. If you are super committed and an obstacle comes up, you are much more likely to pull through it. So what are your chances? The main thing that I have seen to determine your chances are how committed you are. More so than any external variable, more so than whether or not they're in a rebound relationship, or whether or not they currently like you or don't like you, or whether or not you're, something's happening on Facebook or something's not happening on Facebook. It's really how committed you are. So that is the answer to that. See if we can do a couple more questions. Kind of rambled on for a while today, so I'll try to go a little bit over 30 minutes. Brad says, my wife moved out in October, but we were on and off, but she saw other people. February, she said she wanted a divorce after downloading a dating app. We hooked up 2 weeks ago and have made out 2 times. Okay, yeah, so I think your ex is, or your wife, I guess two of you are probably still legally married. I think your wife is trying to figure out what she wants right now. And maybe part of that was going out on a few dates and seeing what else is out there. But I mean, clearly she does enjoy spending time with you if she's getting together with you and making out. So there's definitely positive connection going on there. The question is, can you go through these things that I talked about today, and can you say, yeah, that's the kind of person I want to be in a relationship with? Yeah. There's no deal breakers there. Yeah, we have a similar vision. Yeah, I can accept her 100% for who she is without having to change her. If you can do that, then you're probably on a good path to making things work with her. If you're making out, that's definitely a good sign. You just got to focus on having high quality interactions to make sure that that interacting with each other feels good. You have to show her that she's not walking back into the same marriage that she walked out of in the first place. And yeah, obviously you have to overcome any friction, right? It's really those three things in order to get back together with your ex. Let's see what else we got going on here. I work with my ex, and her new boyfriend keeps coming to work on her breaks, says Rep 1215. Yeah, that's really tough. That's really tough. That's really tough emotionally. And if you can just deal with that emotionally, then you'll be probably in a much better place. The only thing I can think of is like if they are like rubbing it in your face somehow, like if they're being affectionate deliberately in front of you in order to harm you emotionally, then that would, number one, make me think, wow, your ex is kind of mean. But number two, I mean, her new boyfriend probably doesn't care because, he has no interest in your well-being. But, if you wanted to get back together with your ex, then you have to say, okay, if she is doing this intentionally to rub my face in it, then you have to take that as feedback for her character and use that in your evaluation of what are her qualities. Can I accept her as she is right now? And, if you do want to be in a relationship with somebody like that who's willing to do that to you, who's willing to do that to you when the chips are down, then that's okay. But I'd hope that you'd love yourself enough to not do that, nudging you with the elbow here. But, if that's not going on and she's just hanging out and he just happens to show up and she's not rubbing your face in it or anything like that, then it's really just how you deal with your own emotions, how you deal with all of that on an emotional level within yourself. And that's just, personal work that you have to go through. You'd probably like our book, Be Loved for Who You Are, and the Self-Esteem Solution. You get them both for the price of one, over at modernlove.life/book. They really help you with that kind of inner stuff when it comes to dating and relationships, how you create your own emotions. So, if you're feeling jealous or insecure or something, you can take a look at kind of how that's happening beneath the surface, and then you can short circuit that emotional circuit from firing so that you don't necessarily go down those same paths. And of course, if you're going to feel different feelings, you're going to take different actions, and if you're going to take different actions, you're going to get different results. So that's why all of this is really important. It's not, obviously feeling better is good because it helps you feel better, but it's also going to help you to make different actions and make different choices that will, of course, give you different results when it comes to things in life. Let's see if we can do one more question before we wrap this up. This one's a bit on the longer side. So we did Brad already. Do you have a private chat? No, not really. Not really doing like the private client work right now. Just, I have not a whole lot of time right now for appointments and stuff with the baby. But if you just want to get in touch with us, just shoot us an email over at hello@modernlove.life. It's a good way to get in touch with us. Tony says spot on. Thanks, Tony. That explains my wife to the T. I'm not sure what I was talking about at that particular moment in the video, but apparently I can explain somebody's wife here. Sadly, I can't let go. Says custodial custodian. Well, that's an awkward name, if that is your real name. But yeah, I made several videos over the past week or week and a half on the topic of letting go of your ex. If you missed those, that would be something worth checking out. It'd be worth reviewing those. Just go back on this channel's history over the past week or so, and you'll probably find some good information there. Let's see if we can get like a solid question here. Spencer says, "Good evening, Clay. Well, the ex is calling me each morning, lunchtime, and after work. Am I wrong for making her call me, as I watched your video saying let them reach out? What is the balance?" Okay, yeah. So when it comes to contacting your ex or letting your ex contact you, again, there's a lot of advice out there that says, oh, you want your ex to do all the initiating because they broke up with you, all that stuff. And again, I don't believe in the black and white thing. I don't believe in necessarily doing it one way or the other. But here's my thoughts on that. Number one, if you're going to let them call you, if you're going to wait for them to contact you, you're going to essentially give away your power to them. And you're going to be at their whims as to whether or not they want to contact you or not. And that's okay if you're okay with giving away your power and letting them be the ones in control of whether or not they contact you. That's fine. But you have to be okay with that. They may not contact you. I see a lot of people that say, oh yeah, never contact your ex first, and then they're always like, hey, my ex doesn't contact me, what do I do? What do I do? What do I do? I'm like, well, dude, you just decided not to contact them. Be okay with the consequences of them possibly not contacting you. But then the opposite side of that is like, okay, you want to restore some kind of connection with them, so it makes sense that you would want to take control of things and contact them, right? And so where's the balance? And the balance is pretty clear, if you ask me at least, and that is that you can contact your ex as much as you want, as long as the interactions feel good. Now, obviously, some of us personally here, featured on the live stream, featured on the video screen here, some of us have called our exes way too much after a breakup, and clearly that did not feel good, receiving 10 phone calls in one day or something. And clearly she did not respond to me, or at least not in a very timely or enthusiastic manner. And the reason that, there was nothing wrong with me contacting her, but eventually it started to feel bad on an emotional level. It started to take away from any lingering positive emotions. And so if you're going to contact your ex, go ahead and do it, but make sure it feels good on an emotional level. If you're just calling up and saying, hey, I just want to, once again, ask you why we can't just get back together, I just want to understand why, then, is that going to feel good? Probably not. Put yourself in her position and say, okay, well, how would it feel? Hey there, Urban Pathfinder. Good to see you again. How would it feel to her to be on the receiving end of that? Well, probably not very good. Yeah, maybe that's something that you have driving your motivations, driving you to reach out and contact her. But aside from making you feel good, how would it make her feel? And so you want to think about how it's going to be on the receiving end. And if the connection is good, if the two of you are coming closer together, if all that's happening, then go ahead and contact as much as you want until you get to that point where it stops feeling good. When it stops feeling good, stop contacting so you stop doing damage. Look at what's going on. Look at why it's not feeling good. Change whatever needs to be changed. Maybe it's just giving her a little bit of time. Maybe it's changing the way that you're interacting with her. Maybe it's changing the way you're calling her. And that can sometimes work too. But you can contact as much as you want to, as long as it feels good on an emotional level. If it doesn't feel good on an emotional level, stop contacting and look at why it's not working. Okay, simple as that. Other than that, I don't think there's any value in keeping score over who contacted more, who contacted last time, whose turn it is, who should contact. I don't find any value in that. I find more value in just making sure the interactions feel good on an emotional level. And if that happens, it doesn't matter who contacts who, because the two of you are coming closer emotionally. And, if you're coming closer emotionally and you're a good fit to be with one another, you'll probably eventually end up in a relationship. And that's all I think that really needs to be considered when it comes to all this. Okay, guys, so we're way over time here for the usual 30 minutes here. But I was rambling on a little bit earlier today, so apologize for that. And I'll talk to you guys tomorrow. Tomorrow, I'll probably be a little bit later, probably in the afternoon, at least here on the West Coast Pacific time. taking my daughter to her 9-month pediatrician appointment. And yeah, so I'll probably be coming at you from home tomorrow. I know some people really like seeing the balcony. But yeah, anyway, talk to you guys later. Thanks so much for tuning in. And again, if you have any questions that I did not address, please leave them in the comment section of this video. Once it's done processing and it becomes a regular YouTube video. Anyway, talk to you guys tomorrow. Take care, and thanks.